Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about exists in SQL Server. Exists is considered to be one of the best operators in SQL Server. Many a times we need to check if a record is present in a table before taking any action. That's where exists helps. In this video, I will explain why we need exists, how it works, and where to use it with simple real-time examples. We will also see how exists is different from in and which one is better for performance. I will demonstrate the full concept and scenarios with practical examples and justify the points by showing you the execution in SQL Server Management Studio. And don't miss at the end of the video, I will share 5 important interview questions and their answers with practical scenarios on exists to help you in job interviews. So stay with me till the end and let's get started. In order to understand the concept of exists, let's go and create a couple of tables. I'm going to create 2 tables initially. The first table is customers, which has got 3 fields: customer ID, customer name, and customer email. And orders table is customer ID, order description, price per unit, and number of items. You notice here is that orders table can hold multiple customer IDs, as one customer may place multiple orders there. Let's go and create this table. This table has been created. Let's go and create the second table. This has also been created. Let's go and insert records in customers table, insert it, and so as in orders table, insert it. Now let's select the records of the tables. So you see that customers table has got 5 records and orders table has got 4 records. In orders table, customer ID 1, who is Naveen Jain, has placed orders 2 times. He has placed an order of shirt of 2 quantities. Each shirt is costing $800. And likewise, he has also ordered a sweater of quantity 1, $2,800. So this way we have created 2 tables. Now let's go and try to understand one query there. The query is, here is the query. The query has got 2 parts, the one which is there in this bracket and one which is outside this bracket. So outside the bracket and inside the bracket, the query which is inside the bracket is called a subquery or inner query. And between these 2 queries, there is something called EXIXTS, that is exists. It's an operator. This exists operator operates on the value of this subquery return. So if subquery returns some values, this eventually generates a true flag for the outer query, and then outer query gets executed. If the subquery doesn't return anything, no value, then it returns a false flag or generates a false, and on the basis of that, the outer query doesn't generate any record. So let's select this inner query and try to execute if it returns something. We have seen that this inner query has returned 2 records here. So hence, if it has returned 2 records, then this exists operator will generate true flag and outer query will fully execute. If I am selecting this completely and trying to exit, we say that there are all 5 records getting displayed from the customer table. It is as simple as it is. If you are writing select 1, which always returned a record 1, and if it is 1, that means it is true. If you are selecting this, you will always get the records. So the idea is, if the subquery returns records, exists generates true and outer query executes. If subquery doesn't return a record, then it exists generate false and the outer query doesn't execute. Make sense? If we want to define exists operator, this operator is used to check whether a subquery returns any rows. If the subquery has at least one result, exists returns true, else it returns false. This example we have already seen right now in some moment back. This looks like this. If you have two tables, customer table and orders table, and if you are putting an exists operator on that, and we are putting condition like that, the customer ID of customer equals to the order ID of customer ID of orders table, then it should return 3 records. There are 3 persons who have placed the orders. Let's go and see couple of other real-time scenarios of exists in the real world. Number 1 is checking if the customer has placed an order. So any e-commerce platform use this to find the customer who have made purchases. This is the example. This is the customer table, and this is an order table, and out of which if we have applied exists, this returns this record. Take an example, checking if an employee has completed training. Human resource department of any organization can track if the employee has completed the training or not, or whosoever employee have completed the training. So we have an employee table, and then we have a employee training completion table, wherein this contains training ID, employee ID, and the date of training. And you see that there are 3 employees here who have actually completed trainings there in the training completion table. Third example, checking if the product exists in the inventory. This is used by retailers who have their website and their stock, and they want to check if their product is there in the stock or not. So this is a product table which has got product ID and product name, and this is a stock table which says that product ID 1 has 500 quantities, product ID 2, which is pant, has 800 quantities, and product ID 3, which is sweater, is having 760 quantity. So at any point of time, they can apply exist and find out what all products there in this stock. Fourth example, checking if the student has enrolled in the course or not. So student table has got student ID, student name. Enrollment table has got enrollment ID, student ID, and course ID. And this way, if you apply exist on this, any point of time, you can figure out, the universities can figure out who all students who have enrolled for the course is. The fifth example is preventing duplicate user registration. So website can actually prevent duplicate user registration so that the same user cannot register for a second time. There are many ways by which we can restrict or we can actually prevent duplicate entries, but we can utilize exist operator to do this as well. Let's go and see these things in action. Let's go and check the duplicate registration case. So what happens if you are maintaining the user's details, and if there are 3 fields, user ID, email, and username, you may not want that one user, there are 2 users who can create the same user ID. And that's where, while table creation, we have kept it as a primary key. So you may raise this question that, hey, the primary key has already been created, so this eventually is not going to allow 2 same user IDs in this table. Then why are you going to say that I'm going to introduce exist to check? So there are a couple of reasons. Let's say you are allowing second same duplicate user IDs to be inserted to the table. Obviously, table will refuse and it will return an error saying that the same user ID already exists because it is a primary key, and we know the thumb rule of primary key that it doesn't allow duplicate keys there. This will actually waste the time of yours when you hit that request, and that request goes to the table and the table refuses. Instead, if you have done that check beforehand only, then that would be great. And that's where we think of this scenario. Then there would be another question of yours is, why can't we do it in front end only? So when you try to do it, achieve it in front end, then eventually you need to make a call to the database and check if that entry already exists or not. So again, you are making a turnaround time for this. You are hitting the database, getting the records back, and then again you are going to send the correct details. Instead, the second scenario can be that if you are writing your whole business logic in SQL Server stored procedure, because it happens that many a time that you write most of your business logic in a stored procedure. So a stored procedure itself can check if that entry is already there. If it is already there, then it doesn't allow. If it is not there, then it allows. And that's where we will use exist out there. So let's go and create this users table first. The users table has got created. Let's insert one record of Rajat Kumar there. Rajat Kumar record has got inserted. And now I have written a script. This script can be utilized in stored procedures. So this has got three fields: user ID, email, and username. And I'm going to assign some value, set some value. In user ID, I'm going to set Sanjay. Email ID, I'm going to set Sanjay Kumar at gmail.com, and username Sanjay Kumar. And then I'm going to check here is if exists, this guy already exists, then say that user ID already exists and then return. Don't do any more action. But if it is not the gear, then in else, come here and insert this record. So let's go and try to do this activity. It should allow because Sanjay Kumar is not existing right now. So if I'm going to select this, select all from users, you see that Rajat Kumar and Sanjay Kumar are two users existing right now. But what if I'm going to hit this again? So what will happen? It will go to check for Sanjay, and since Sanjay already exists, it will not allow me to insert it again, and it will give this error. Let's go and hit this, and here it is. User ID already exists, and it returns back. So this way, we can see that exists can use to prevent the duplicate entry. We are going to compare exists versus in. When can we use exist and how exists is better than in? So the first is the performance. The first point is performance, where exist stops checking once it finds a match, where in processes all the values. So how do we understand this? There are two tables, the order table and this is your customer table. So what happens? Order table you have written as a subquery. So if you are trying to say that who all customers who have placed the order. So this particular order table returns, you see this order table returns the customer's name details. So what happens if in case of exist, if say it finds for the first time only that it found that Naveen Jain is already there, so it will not check for Naveen Jain again. But if it is in, then it will also check for the second time also. I mean, if Naveen Jain comes somewhere like at 1000th place or 2000th place also, it will check. So we see that exist is, in terms of performance, exist is better here than your in. Make sense? The second difference is if exists you are using, and if you by chance you are having some null values, like here you don't have any customer ID, some null. So your in may not work properly if you have something called null. But if you have exists, this works perfectly. And the third is SQL Server optimizes exist better in terms of larger data set. So it is always preferred to use exist over in. Let me go and show you one such example wherein we will see how performance is seen better in terms of exist if there is a huge data set. In terms of, and you also see the difference where in compares second time each and everything, wherein exist stops after the first completion. And that's where we'll see that exist query performance is better than the query performance of in. I am in SQL Server Management Studio again, and you see that I have written two queries. The first query that exists, and this is basically going to get a data set of 5 million records, wherein your orders has 5 million records, some null as well. Select all from TBL customers and select all from TBL orders. So you see, like I am saying top 50 and say top 50. So there are many records, but see this couple of nulls also here, and there are, so this has the TBL order has got 5 million records. This is 1 million record. The customer has got 1 million record. So I executed both of them, and this is the answer. You see that in one place I use exist here, and the second place I use in, and in case of in it took more time. You see that 1874 milliseconds and 579, whereas in case of exist it took less time, that is 1858 milliseconds. So this is a small data set. I mean, 5 million record data set. If you are going to make it more and more, so you will see the significant difference. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about that is if it is in, it checks for all entries, but if it is exists, it just checks the one entry is marked, then it doesn't check that for again. For example, Naveen Jain has ordered 2 times. If it got that Naveen Jain has ordered once, then it will not check for another Naveen Jain's entry. Make sense? The second thing that I wanted to tell you is it was about null. So I told that the in may not produce the correct record many times. So what I'm writing, I'm trying to say that trivial customers where customer ID not in, it is as simple as it. And here I'm using not exists. So it is as equal as it is not in, not exists. But you see that in case of not in, it has produced no record. But in case of not exists, it has produced lots of record. So what I told, this is because this particular order table has got many entries which has got null as well. So if null comes into the picture, your in or not in may not function correctly, but once your exist always function correctly. Make sense? So here we have come at the end, and then we wanted to discuss the interview questions based on exist. Number one is what is the purpose of exist? So purpose we already know. We have discussed a lot about it. I think it is now not required to explain you again the same thing. The second is how is it different from in? So this is different from in many terms. Number one is just stops at the first match, as I showed you the example also. But in scans for all values. And if it is handling null, works even if it is null values, exists works, but your in may fail. And we have seen a failing scenario. Best use for large data set, but if it is a small data set, then in is best use. I think this clarifies your answer. And these all three I have already shown in the practical examples. Can we use exist and delete statement? Answer is yes, we can. I'll show you right now. And can we use update in exist statements? Yes, the answer is yes, and I will show you right now. What values does exist return? It returns true or false based on the subquery. So if subquery returns some records, it exists true. If subquery doesn't record any record, doesn't return any record, then it returns false. So this is the last example, whether we can use update with the exist or not. So we have 2 records here. So we have these records in the customers table and orders table. Now let's go and write exist statement with update. Update customers. I'm going to update the customer where the customer email ID will be changed to new email ID at gmail.com, where exist the customer and whose order number is more than 1. So there are many whose order number is 2 and many are. So that's 2 people, these 2 guys email ID should be changed to new email ID. Let's go and try to do that. So this gets executed and you see that 2 persons have got their new email ID, new email, who had made purchases more than 2. So hence we see that we can use update along with exist. Whether we can use delete along with exist or not. So we can check right here and right here. And let's go. I'm writing delete from customer where all matching customers. So we see that we have 5 entries here, but we executed delete. And then now we have, and once after deleting, we have 3 records only in the customer table. So 2 records have got deleted. Concept of exist that I explained to you. I blended many practical examples as pretty much clear to you. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more high quality technical content. Don't forget even to click that bell icon so that you will have future notifications. Drop your questions in comments if any. I'll be happy to answer them. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.